And we're live. Season 2, Episode 2, College Football Preview. Happy Thursday to you, all you listeners out there that are tuning in to Tyler's Talking Sports.
Good morning.
If you haven't listened yet to Episode 1, we kind of reintroduced what Tyler Talking Sport is going to be talking about throughout this entire season. It's going to be college football all around the clock. I, myself, Tyler Castle, co-host, brother from another mother. I got that right the first time. Tyler Hess joining me tonight. Again, this will be live Thursday morning, so happy Thursday morning to all you beautiful people. Hess, did you want to go over what our listeners could be bidding for if they enter the Pick'ems?
All right, guys, the college Pick'em. You have until Saturday, August 31st at 11:59 p.m. Go to our Facebook, go to our Twitter, go to our TikTok. It's on there. There's a link. Click it. Get you an ESPN account if you don't already have one, and sign into our college Pick'em. You can either do the auto picks or go down through there and make your picks for each week. And if you win, finish first place, I think it ends in January, first week of January, you get a $50 gift card on us here at Tyler's Talking Sports for where you want it from. So
your choice.
Our hard-earned money out to you guys. So be sure you get in and be sure you make sure that your name has something with your actual name in it. So I ain't looking for slapping butt cheeks 35. I got to make sure.
I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like ESPN 9561362 hashtag.
Nope,
not that. Slapping butt cheeks. All right, I love it.
Butt cheeks, tight ends.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting off episode 2. Great. So yeah, guys, again, it just takes about 20 seconds, 30 seconds a week. You can even auto pick those. Just don't forget to always lock those.
And it's only the Saturday games.
So it's only Saturday games.
You have until Saturday morning.
You have until Saturday morning, the 31st. So make sure you get those picks in, guys. We sure would love to give away a gift card to one of you listeners. So
yep, absolutely.
Having a good week so far, Hess?
Yeah, buddy. I mean, it's Thursday. We're almost there. We're almost that weekend. Long weekend. Labor Day weekend coming up.
Labor Day weekend, yep.
It's going to be a fun one. Big things happening, though, here. I want to kind of shout out, here we are, Lebanon, Virginia. We got the Coal Bowl tonight kicking off at 7 o'clock over at not EMAT Stadium, Fuller Field.
Fuller Field in Honaker, Virginia.
Home of Heath Miller. Y'all don't know that. I'm pretty sure everybody that pretty much listens knows that, but should be a pretty good game. From what I've heard, Lebanon's got a pretty good passing game. Honaker's returned pretty much everybody except for a couple seniors. They lost a few linemen, a couple more skilled position players, but they got a new head coach, Shane Wick, some real good buddies with Shane. He's doing big things, but I really like to hear what Hunter Norris is doing at Lebanon. So kind of hoping my Pioneers pull it out, but we'll see. But that's a big thing. So if you ain't got nothing to do this Thursday, guys, head over there to Honaker and watch that football game. It'll be real good. It'll be packed.
It'll be very, very crowded. I'm going to try to get there tomorrow if I can. Probably only get a half in with I got a 2-year-old, so don't know if I can get the full game in. We'll see, but I'd like to at least get the first half in. Should be able to. But yeah, big things happening. There was some local podcasts that did do some interviews on the coach of Lebanon, so you have to check those out. I know Porch Talk did it.
Porch Talk did, and
last week, and
Tailgate Talk.
Talking with the Tailgate Talk with the boys. Yeah, they just recently done one too. So make sure y'all check their podcast out and give that a listen as well. Hess, so you ready?
Be sure y'all look up Fresh Off the Clock too, guys.
Fresh Off the Clock, yes, we have partnered up with them. Been really good stuff. Been sending them some picks throughout the week, and be on the lookout too, guys. Follow them for some bets probably before Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're trying to get those bets out, so make sure you give them a follow. They got a big following base on Facebook, or fan base on Facebook, so definitely give them a follow there. They're really good about getting the local guys some recognition for this area, and big things planned for that for those guys over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so great stuff. Moving ahead. Fresh Off the Clock. I cannot remember that for some reason. I'm sorry, guys. I always want to just say their names, Fred and Cody. So, Fresh Off the Clock. Sorry, guys. But yeah, big things tonight or this morning. Sorry, guys. Big things this morning.
Oh yeah,
SEC preview, man.
Yeah, SEC. Well, it's college football preview.
College football preview.
We're going to dive into the part of what we think is the best conference in college football, the SEC. We got some newcomers in the SEC this year. That's going to be interesting. We got the Texas Longhorns. We got the Oklahoma Sooners coming in, and they're looking to shake things up. They've been talking trash that the SEC isn't what it's all cracked up to be, and they're wanting to come in and show that the SEC's been overrated for the last couple of years. That's exactly what's on the locker room in Texas. Steve Sarkisian said that they are not. There's nothing more impressive about the SEC than what they've been playing in the Big 12. So I'm excited to see what happens there. But how do you feel about Texas, Oklahoma coming in? What do you think about them coming in, and
I think
how are they going to contribute?
I think it makes the SEC the best conference, top to bottom, truly. I know, we're going to go into the conferences later. We can talk about the teams and stuff, but bringing them in just adds more talent and a tougher schedule for everybody. I mean, including them. I mean, they're going to realize how hard the SEC is and truly is. It's not just all hype. It's week in, week out, tough football. So, yeah, I think it definitely changes the SEC again, top to bottom. I think you're going to see one of those. I ain't going to say which one just yet. Probably make it in the final two. So, yeah, both teams look good coming into the SEC. I think they'll be fit for the SEC. So
I know we're going to talk about it later on, but I mean, while we're kind of on it, just so we don't have to kind of be redundant later on. I mean, in the Big Ten, you've got four new teams in there. You got Washington, UCLA, USC, and Oregon. So you have 4 teams. You add that with what they've already got. I mean, Big Ten's
right there. Don't get me wrong.
They're right there. And I mean, if you look right now, the top 10 is actually one ACC school, and the rest is Big Ten and SEC schools. So
the ACC don't look bad either.
ACC is going to be pretty solid. I mean, they're a little bit weaker at the bottom, but they've got some pretty solid teams. But let's get into the SEC, man. Let's start it off. I mean, you got a couple ranked teams here. I'm just going to kind of rattle them off.
Yeah.
You stop me where you want, interrupt me. I mean,
sure.
you got Georgia coming in, consensus number 1 team in the country. You've got Alabama sitting at 5. You got Ole Miss at 6. You've got Texas coming in from the Big 12. They're sitting at 4. With people don't talk about it, but I still feel like there's a little bit of quarterback drama there. Even though Ewers is the man, you got Art sent behind him. We'll see. That'll be interesting how that transpires throughout the year. You got Oklahoma at 16. You got Texas A&M at 20. You got the Tennessee Vols sitting at 15, and then you got LSU at 13, and I'm pretty sure Kentucky's sitting at like 27. So I mean, the SEC is pretty stacked. I mean,
that's tough.
But they are. But I will say this is probably the weakest that I've seen the SEC as far as the bottom schools that we're going to talk about here, because instead of usually like 1 or 2 being really bad, I see like 4 that may be lucky to even make a bowl, and that's almost unheard of in the SEC. But you add Oklahoma and Texas, that depletes the others. So anyway, what are you thinking, man? What are you looking at toward the SEC, and who do you think is going to be the one that really just takes over the SEC and maybe leads it, or combination of schools?
Yeah, so I think Georgia obviously is my number 1 pick. They're the number 1 squad coming in this year. Have had some off-season, a little bit of drama.
I was kind of wanting your opinion on that and what you were thinking.
Yeah, off-field incidents. One of the questions we had for tonight was, does Georgia have a culture problem? Or are we only hearing about it because it's Georgia? I think Georgia's kind of became the poster child for the cultural problem based off events that happened in 2023. Just recently back in 2024, there was a bunch of charges thrown at that team. Just based off what they did. I'm not going to get too much into it, but arrested for felony charges. So a lot of drama off the field, but Georgia's still Georgia. At the end of the day, they can still recruit. They still got best defense, in my opinion, in the league. And their offense is going to be electric again this year. I'm picking Georgia to still win the SEC. The SEC, you don't have the East and West this year. It's just the SEC. So they will be my outright champion probably. They are the highest bidding. They're plus 190 on DraftKings right now, so you can take that odds. That's pretty good odds of 190 if you pick Georgia. But I'm projecting Georgia probably to go 11-1, even 12-0.
Who are you thinking?
They got a tough schedule. Go ahead.
Who do you think the one loss is going to be?
I don't know. I mean, you got Texas. That's probably the one I'm circling.
They got 3 major road games this year. They got one at Texas at DKR, and then they got one at Bama, and then they go to Ole Miss. I mean, that's your 3 major road games for them this year, and that's 3 teams that could be competing for the SEC title.
Yeah, you can't sleep on Ole Miss. I still don't think. I mean, I know we'll get into Ole Miss here in a minute, but I still don't think Ole Miss is truly just there just yet. Mm-hmm. But Texas has all the pieces to give Georgia a problem, and it's a road game. So that's the one I have circled as the one loss.
I like that. Since I'm glad you went first there talking about Georgia because I'm a Georgia fan. I didn't want to be biased against anything there, and I don't want to feed into your take or anything. But like looking at it, Georgia's got lost. They lost Brock Bowers, they lost Ladd McConkey, but now they brought in Loudon Humphreys, who was probably Vandy's best player they've had since Jay Cutler. He's in there. He's going to be a Ladd McConkey 2.0. Oscar Delp's coming in. You're not even going to realize that Brock Bowers isn't on the field just based off Oscar Delp. Oscar Delp may be a little bit more athletic than Bowers. Carson Beck, he should be the front runner for the Heisman. But as far as the culture issues there at Georgia, I personally feel like there is maybe a little bit of an issue, but I also look at this day and age. The type of people you're bringing in now, people are not – this generation, is not a disciplined generation. And with the NIL, it's a problem. You're feeding these kids money. They have no control over it. And they have all these thousands and thousands of dollars coming to them. They're going to get in trouble at that age.
Also, too, social media. I mean,
oh, yeah.
It plays a huge role in all this.
Absolutely. But I do think, if anything, Georgia, if you're going to have culture issues, that's the place to have it because Kirby Smart runs a tight ship.
Yeah.
Granted, he's abiding by the rule book. I don't blame the guy. A lot of people are calling him out, hey, why are you not suspending these players? They're still waiting to see if NTN's going to play this weekend because of his previous arrest. But He's going by the rule book. That's his discretion. SEC can chime in, but they're not doing anything, so the SEC is good with it. It's just up to the school. But I really think Georgia has one loss this year, and I definitely think it comes at Alabama. I think DeBoer makes a statement, but I think it's a close game. If that's the game they lose, it won't be like a big blowout or anything because Kirby's on a mission. After what happened to him last year, getting out of the playoff because they lost to Alabama, and then everything that happened, Kirby's on a mission, and now no Nick Saban. In some ways, a lot of people, there's people who are going to argue it. That crown has been put on Kirby's head. Nick Saban's taking it off, and now it's on Kirby's head.
Sure.
And he's that new guy. So that's going to be interesting. Kirby's going to be motivated. Georgia's going to be tough this year.
What's your prediction?
As far as their record?
Yeah.
They could.
Let me ask this: are they your SEC favorites?
They're my co-favorites.
Co-favorites. Okay.
I don't have them as the outright SEC champion this year. I do think they make the SEC title game, but I don't have them as the.
Let me ask you: what's the kicker? Just the road games, or is there something on your team that you feel like could cost you?
No, I think honestly this is probably the most solid team that Georgia's had probably since the Jake Fromm, Sony Michel, Nick Chubb type team. I know they didn't win a national title, but I really look back at that team. Defensively, offensively, this team matches up. Malik Starks is going to be a monster. But this 12-team playoff really is interesting to me. Because, you could be looking at Georgia. Whether they win the SEC or not, Georgia's probably going to make the playoffs. So if they don't win the SEC title, then, okay, they're not a top 4 seed, but they're going to make the playoffs. They possibly host – you host an Ohio State or you host – you may have to play Ole Miss again. You beat Ole Miss or Texas again. You beat them. It's hard to beat somebody twice. So that's where I'm kind of looking at that part of the playoff side of it, but I know we'll get more into that. But
yeah. I was just curious what your take was on that.
I think it's the road games. The road games that they got is premier. Thank God we don't got
this is the toughest. This is the toughest schedule y'all have had in quite some time.
Well, I don't look at it as being the toughest schedule we've had. I look at it as maybe the toughest just because the teams that we're going to are ranked.
Yeah.
But if you look back 2 years ago, we played the exact same schedule minus Texas, but we played Texas A&M at A&M. So,
right.
It is what it is, but we'll see. Some other teams that I want to kind of talk about before we move on from the SEC here, too. We're both kind of leaning toward Georgia. Alabama, what are they going to do with that? With no Nick Saban on the sideline, first time since 2006 that Nick Saban has not been on the sideline at Alabama.
You about to say Notre Dame?
I about did.
Wow.
Do you think DeBoer is going to fit right in? Or is this going – you do?
Yeah, Kevin DeBoer will be fine. Look what he did at Washington. Everywhere he's went, he's got a proven track record. He's a winner.
Yeah.
I think Alabama picks right up where they left off. There was a bunch of transfers that started out, whenever Saban left, a bunch of players entered a transfer portal, but DeBoer was able to reel those guys back in and keep them home. So they still got Jalen Milroe. You just mentioned Heisman favorite. I think Jalen Milroe is going to be in that talk. You cannot exclude him from that. Jam Miller, they bring in Jam Miller, running back.
Yeah.
So CJ Dupree.
Yeah. Monster tight end.
Yeah, and that's not even talking about their defense. Their
Oh,
defense
their
is still
defensive
going to
line
be
is probably the best in the SEC.
it's up there. I mean, SEC defensive lines this year are unreal. I'd give it top three definitely.
I mean, the big thing
Alabama. I mean, Alabama's going to be in the talks all year. I mean, it's Alabama.
I will say though,
I don't see them going like a 6-6 or 7-5 bounce off year.
I will say this though, that secondary is going to be an issue. This is probably the most depleted / non-bolstered secondary they've had probably in years, and it's nothing to do with DeBoer. Saban was going to inherit this secondary as well. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. There's a freshman on that team that nobody's really talking about. He ain't even on the top 3 in their depth chart, but it's if you remember Fitzpatrick, it played for them.
Yeah,
his little brother is on there. Yeah, Minka Fitzpatrick's brother, he's on there. So it's going to be interesting to see if he makes any strides throughout the year like his brother did. Bama's going to be there. I mean, they got Georgia at home. That's going to be a statement game. They got it at Auburn, in the Iron Bowl. They got some tough. They go to Wisconsin this year.
They go to Tennessee.
Yep, they go to Tennessee. I mean, yes, I could see Bama going. I think they go 10-2, but I could easily see Alabama going 9-3. I could see them actually going 8-4, depending on. I mean,
is that your basement 8-4?
Yeah, I would say 8-4 is definitely the basement, but I mean that's a reach. I would say more so the basement should probably like 9-3.
I would say 9-3 myself. But this is a team too that could also go 11-1. So I do see some some of these top squads, Georgia, Bama, Texas. I do see them getting this year definitely could be 1 or 2 more losses than they're used to. It's going to be somebody. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's what adding Texas and Oklahoma does. It just makes the schedule so much tougher.
But I think it's funny too. They all these conferences add all these teams, change everything up. This is the year we get the 12-team playoff.
Right.
So now it's like Kirby was saying during the SEC media day, a 2-loss team in the SEC, that's no big deal. That's a 1-loss SEC school every other year.
It should still be top 12. Yeah.
So I mean, you're going to see 2-loss schools possibly still be in the running for stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I want to talk about Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, what he's doing there is it's pretty impressive. It's top notch in my opinion. That's the team that I have as playing in the SEC title game against Georgia, and I think they're I think they share the SEC title this year. If Georgia loses a game, it's probably going to be right there.
Yeah, I didn't realize this note that you wrote down. For the second time since 1970, Ole Miss has been a preseason top 10 team. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
That's saying something. Jackson Dart is going to tear it up. Another Heisman guy that could be a Heisman. I mean, it's almost like every quarterback in the SEC, and not just even the SEC. I mean, we could go through other conferences. The quarterbacks this year should be really, really good. So I'm excited. I liked watching Ole Miss last year on the offense. They're electric. They're fun. It was a lot like my Tennessee Vols back in 2022. So it's fun to watch. Lane Kiffin, love him, hate him, he can coach. So yeah, I think Ole Miss is definitely a team to keep an eye on. We had a question on here: will losing Quinshon Judkins to Ohio State hurt Ole Miss? I don't think so. I mean, he's still got a very, very solid wide receiver room. On top of losing him, they're ranked number 2 nationally. I did not know that coming into this year. Trey Harris will lead the group. He tore it up last year. He's a second team All SEC. This team he's projected to be first team All SEC. He had 985 yards and 8 touchdowns receiving. So he'll be the guy. Him and Jackson Dart are going to connect up a lot this year. That electric offense, like I just mentioned. Also, too, they picked up Walter Nolan on defense from Texas A&M. That was a big get in the transfer portal. He was the hottest defensive end at that time whenever he entered the transfer portal. So
I mean, they're a lot better on defense.
This is another team easily 9-3, 10-2, 11-1.
Absolutely, I agree with you there. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Lane Kiffin can do. I'm excited. I mean, I think, though, this is probably the best team he's had since he's been there. Probably the best team he's had since he's been a college coach.
I'd agree with that.
Definitely the best defense he's had.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as head coach, I mean, he was offensive coordinator at Alabama. But as far as being his team, this is definitely the best defense he's got. And the offense ain't going to miss a beat, I don't think. I think losing Junkins is going to hurt a little bit because Junkins was a monster. He's led the SEC in rushing the last 3 years. Was a finished sixth in the Heisman voting last year. I mean, Junkins is a monster, and then now he joins Ohio State, and now they've got him and Henderson finished fifth in the Heisman last year. So, I mean, that's just unreal what they're doing there. That's going to be interesting to talk about them. Texas. What do you think?
Welcome to the SEC. Biggest thing here on Texas, Quinn Ewers. That's got this, circle his name.
He's got to stay healthy.
Is he going to make it through the season without getting injured? I personally don't think he will. I hope he does. I like Quinn Ewers. I like playing with him on NCAA 25. He's great. I do think we will see Arch this year just because of how relentless the schedule is, and Quinn Ewers has been known for his injuries these past few seasons. So I do think we see Arch, and it might be one of those games too where Texas is just getting blown out and coach has had enough and he just throws in Manning and see what he does. So I think that's the big key there. They've had some running back injuries too. I know you noted Jaden Blue will take over for C.J. Baxter since he's out for the season. So that does hurt. Mm-hmm. There's still some question marks there too. On that offense, we'll see. They did lose, that wide receiver last year to the draft.
Xavier Worthy.
He is worthy.
Go Dogs.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's gonna blow up for the Chiefs.
He'll be good. I liked watching him on Texas. So there's some stuff there. We'll see first couple weeks how Texas is, but we really won't see. I guess Texas' first game is against you all. Is that right? SEC play?
No, their first SEC game. Yeah, they play at 2 or 3 before they play us. So we don't play them until October. That's their big one. But their big game week 2, they go to Michigan.
Michigan, that's the one I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yes, they go
you got to note it right here, September 7th. Yep.
Yep.
If I can read and scroll down a little bit, I'd see that.
That's going to be interesting. The big thing with them is, we watched them last year play Texas, or play Alabama, and that defense was legit. That time I was more impressed with the defense than I was anything, and they pretty much returned all of that. If they can get that pass rush and fight through that week in and week out with those SEC offensive lines, that's going to be the telltale sign, I think, for Texas. If Texas can keep up that pass rush and that pressure that they lay on the quarterback with that defensive front all year, facing elite lines week in and week out, Texas could be a force.
Texas is known, too, that they'll be like really hot and then all of a sudden just a random game.
But go ahead.
I was going to say, so I don't know, as far as my prediction, I'm going to go ahead and give my prediction. I'm leaning towards 10-2. I do think they're going to be a 2-loss team in the SEC.
I think it's easy to say they're going to be a 2-loss team. I think they could have more than 2 losses, maybe up to 4, depending. But I don't think Arch Manning sees the field this year unless it's like in scrub time, unless they're just up big. I think
Arch is a redshirt sophomore, right?
Yes, he is redshirt. Well, he'll be a redshirt freshman this year.
Oh, okay.
Because he redshirted his freshman year, so now he's a redshirt freshman this year.
Gotcha. So, okay. I had him a year up, so but being a sophomore starting
he's a sophomore and he's a sophomore in school, but he's still got 4 years of eligibility.
Eligibility left. Nice.
I just don't think he sees the field unless it just absolutely happens. Unless Ewers gets hurt, but I think Ewers makes a point to stay healthy and be the guy.
If Ewers, if he stays healthy, watch out.
But Sarkisian's been there. He coached at Alabama. He knows what the SEC's like. He also got the brakes beat off of him when he was at SC, and they played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. So he kind of knows both sides of it. Oklahoma, you think Brent Venables can keep them at 16, or are they? I think they're overrated, in my personal opinion.
I don't think they're overrated. They do have Jackson Arnold coming in at QB, taking over for Dylan Gabriel. Gabriel's at Oregon now. Arnold's a former 5-star prospect, which in the SEC is everybody. So it doesn't really matter how good your quarterback is. You got to have an offensive line, running back. You got to have all the key pieces to make it work and put it all together. I wouldn't say Oklahoma is overrated. I think 16 is a good spot for them in preseason rankings. Right before week 0. I think that's solid. I'd have them 15, 16. I'd have them right outside the top 12. Tennessee does go on the road there. That's a game I'm pretty nervous about. Not gonna lie. But I'm
predicting back home.
Yeah, I'm predicting 9-3 probably for Oklahoma. That's what I'm leaning towards. Maybe 8-4. I haven't looked at their full schedule. But 9-3 ceiling, 7-5 basement is what I'm leaning towards with Oklahoma. We'll see. They were real streaky last year too.
Yeah. I'm going to run through these right here real fast, a couple little teams, and we'll cover 2 more, and then we'll move on. Florida this year, Graham Mertz, he's pretty much all they got. They do have Langaway. I think it's it, Lagaway or whatever. They're 5-star freshman quarterback. I think he sees the field week 1.
Really?
I don't think Mertz makes it past week 1. If he gets in and does what he's capable of doing, Florida could be dangerous because he's a stud. I watched his high school stuff and some other. I watched him play in the All-Star game or something he was in, and the dude could be a game changer for Florida. But I'm not a big fan of whatever his name is, coach. He hasn't done much since he's been there. Florida, though,
what is his name?
They start week 1 though against Miami.
Right now.
They start week 1 against Miami. It's a big game for both schools, so we'll see. Vanderbilt,
Billy Napier.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of him.
I just want to say Dan Mullen for some reason.
Dan Mullen was there.
He was there.
He was the QB coach for
Billy Napier's going to be on. He's going to be on the hot seat this year.
Yeah, I don't think he makes it through week 5. I think he's fired by then. Vandy. I'm really impressed with what Vandy's doing. They've overhauled that coaching staff. They brought in 50 new players. They actually have the 6th ranked recruiting class in the SEC.
Really?
Yes, they're as far as you had transfer portal and everything in. They had 50 new players, brand new offense coming in, brand new quarterback. Vandy's still going to probably be a bottom dweller team this year because they're super young. But Vandy's heading in the right direction, so it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I'd like to see Vandy get a little bit more competitive. They're a great baseball program. They're decent in basketball. So the football program they're just missing some things. It's hard to recruit, and when your GPA requirements are so high. But Mississippi State, not going to be a good year for them. For them Bulldogs, they might as well just stay in the house. Arkansas, I love Sam Pittman. He was a great coach at Georgia. I thought he would do good things at Arkansas. I think he's fired somewhere throughout the season. I think Arkansas is actually worse than Vandy this year. I think Vandy's better than Mississippi State and Arkansas this year.
We'll see. Vandy's got Virginia Tech week 1. I mean, they play this Saturday.
And there's a lot of people saying that they're going to give Tech a run for their money. I mean, the defense, Vandy's defense is much improved over last year, and they weren't no slouch as far as conference play. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do.
Sure.
Auburn, be interesting to see what happens with Auburn. I feel like Auburn's a coin flip. They could go really, really good or really, really bad. Hugh Freeze, big year for him. I think this is a big year for him as far as a coach. But let's get into it here. Your Tennessee Vols.
Yeah.
This is a big year. Well, potentially big year. Probably the most hype they've had probably since 1999, going in the 99 seasons after they won the national title in 98.
Well, I put 22 up there. 22 was pretty magical.
I'm saying going into the season.
Sure. Starting out, yes.
Yeah, I don't think that was much. You all were too cautious going into 2023 years, and I still think 2022 was a fluke year because of Hendon Hooker. I mean, you take away the 1 year.
Dude's QB2 now for Detroit, so.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. You had him. You take him out of it. Tennessee's been
what it's telling me is Coach Heupel can coach quarterbacks. We're turning into QB here lately.
We'll see.
We'll see with Nico. It's Nico's time to shine, baby. I think we're going to have a stellar year. Got a little bit easier schedule. I'm about to say tough schedule, but no schedule is really that easy in the SEC. Let's just be honest. It's anybody's ball game week in, week out. I do like what I see as far as the offensive line this year. We have a very strong offensive line, a lot better, and should be better than last year. That's the key to this whole offense. If you don't have the offensive line, it ain't going to give Nico time to do what he does. We do have a scrambling quarterback this year. Joe Milton, is a pocket passer. He had 0 touchdowns on the move last year. Rushing touchdowns. Yes, he had 0. Or even outside the pocket. He didn't even have, So, and Nico's your dual threat quarterback. I think that's huge. It reminds me a lot of Hendon Hooker just from film. So I think that's great. Big thing here that I got circled is our secondary. We're still kind of weak back there, so we'll see. They brought in a whole new group. They pretty much cleaned house and did the same thing that Vandy did on their defense as far as that goes. Brew McCoy coming back from injury. What can he do? That wide receiver room is stacked if he's healthy. We do have, Squirrel White coming back too. He's fast. He can catch the ball. He's going to be the guy, I think, this year for them. Also, too, you had Dante Thornton last year kind of shining at the end of the season. So I'm excited. I really am excited for Tennessee football. We got a great tight end coming in as well. So, the receivers are there. The running backs are there. The line's there. Our defensive line, James Pierce Jr. is a monster. He's projected to go 1 or 2 overall in the NFL draft at the end of the season. This ceilings, it's looking good if you're a Tennessee fan. It feels kind of like old times, I guess. Not so much for me because I'm didn't really get to experience that because I was too young. But my prediction for Tennessee at best 10-2. Hopefully the worst is 8-4. So, but I'm really wanting another 10-2 season. That'd be awesome.
Well, I kind of got y'all should have been 11-1 that year. You wouldn't have lost South Carolina.
Yeah.
But anyway, you talk about their secondary. I'm not worried about the secondary. You're bringing in a stud and Jermon McCoy from Oregon State. He was an absolute stud last year at Oregon State. He had like 5 picks. He's coming in with some good leadership there. There's a guy on that team that I absolutely love, Boo Carter, freshman. I think he makes a name for himself this year. I think he ends up starting at some point by the end of the year because he's just too talented. They've got him actually up for freshman of the year watch list. Him and Nico are up for that this year. But my big player for Tennessee this year, you talking about your boy Pierce, defensive end. I'm gonna go to the other side because everybody's gonna be focusing on Pierce. It's gonna be Pierce. They're gonna try to block him, double team him. So Dominic Bailey is gonna absolutely tear it up. Senior, he's been there for 4 years. He knows his defense just about as good as anybody. Last year, he tore it up. He had 5.5 sacks. I think he doubles that this year. I think you're looking at 10 because there's going to be such a focus on Pierce. If Tennessee can get that pass rush and everything going, what they got, they're going to be good. On the other side of the ball, the biggest thing for this offense has nothing to do with Nico. I could care less who's behind at quarterback right now in a hypo offense. I don't really care about the wide receiver core. The big thing is that offensive line because that has been the problem for Tennessee every single year. Every time I've been down there, quarterbacks are running for their lives. When we watched them play Florida, when I watched Vandy kick them to the curb down there 3 years ago, big thing here is Mays returning at center. You have that. That right there is single-handedly the most important position on the offense. He's going to be able to pick up the blocking schemes. Nico don't pick him up. He's going to pick him up, get that line adjusted. That's going to be big. Running backs. The running backs will be big for Nico this year. I'm not expecting too big things out of Nico this first year. I think the generic Vols fan is going to be very disappointed in what Nico does. I think they're going to be like, "Why? This is not what I wanted." But I think it's going to be a very good year for him as far as being his first full-time year starting. I predict Tennessee to go to 11-1, at worst 10-2.
Wow. What's the 10-2? Georgia? Who? Oklahoma?
No.
Bama?
No. Missouri.
Okay. Missouri's tough. Missouri's very tough.
Yep.
And nobody's talking about them.
Nope. Nobody's talked about them bringing back the entire offense other than the senior running back.
Right.
Luther Burden back, bringing him back. I mean, it's going to be unreal. So,
yeah, definitely so.
South Carolina, I want to touch base on them real fast here. The Lenore Sellers, redshirt freshman starting there. Dude wears goggles when he plays. He looks like a stud. They're going to be interesting to see what they can do. They're young this year. Outside of that, though, we talked about Missouri. They're bringing back Brady Cook. They're bringing back Luther Burden. They stand on business. I do know Heupel's wanting that game. I mean, y'all play them at home this year, but I do think that's a home loss for you guys. I just have that feeling. The other thing, though, with Missouri is if Luther Burden stays healthy, Brady Cook stays healthy, they could be a big sleeper, and they could really throw a wrench into everything. Ole Miss's team, Georgia, Texas. And here's the thing. They came from the Big 12. So them and A&M came from the Big 12. They played Texas and Oklahoma. They're not worried. We've been there, done that. So that's going to be interesting. But LSU, it's the last one I want to kind of touch base on. Ranked number 13 in the country. What do you think about them?
Two things here. Cupcake schedule. They don't really
Can they have a cupcake schedule and be in the SEC?
I mean, they got a pretty easy schedule.
Play number 23, USC, starting off.
Mm-hmm.
They got Bama. They got Florida. They got Texas A&M. They got Oklahoma and Texas.
Mm-hmm. Cupcake, man.
Nah,
I'm just joking. I think LSU will be 9-3. That's just my prediction. Just quick shot right there.
And SEC title game. Who you got?
I think it's going to be UGA and Texas. I really do.
I got Ole Miss and UGA.
I mean, I hope it's the Vols, but we'll see.
I got Ole Miss and UGA, and the only reason UGA makes it is because they beat Tennessee at home, and that gives them the tiebreaker over Tennessee. If Tennessee wins that, the winner of the Tennessee UGA game wins the SEC title and is the number 1 seed in college football playoff this year.
Wow. Okay. I like that. I like those odds.
All right.
You're telling me there's a chance, Scott?
Yeah. Let's move into the ACC. We've already had some blow up there. Florida State getting upset week 1 or week 0 to Georgia Tech. We've already time touched base on both of those teams. We kind of know where they stand. It's going to be interesting to see where Florida State falls in the rankings. The big team here that I think nobody is talking about at all, because a lot of people are focusing on Miami being back with Cam Ward. We're looking at Virginia Tech and everything they're bringing back. Nobody's talking about what Mack Brown's got in North Carolina. Not even the odds makers, not even the polls. North Carolina could be dangerous this year.
Yeah, I like this note you have here. They should start the season 8-0. I like that. They don't play one game out of the state until week 9.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's saying something. Underdogs in 2 of their 12 games this year. Those 2 games being at Florida State University and then at NC State. NC State, you skipped over them. You got to come back to them, man. Yep. NC State's going to be good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, they have a great coach. You're right. Nobody's talking about North Carolina.
And they bring in Max Johnson, who was actually a pretty good quarterback at A&M until he got hurt. So I mean, that's going to be interesting to see. And it's Mack Brown.
Yeah, it's Mack Brown. He's proven. Yeah, the ACC, like I said, ACC is a tough one this year. Like I've had a really hard time trying to pick those teams because I mean it's a good conference this year. Well, football all over is really good.
Right. You mentioned NC State.
Yeah.
What do you think about them? They got your Vols this year.
I know we play them second week. I'm really nervous about that game. That game's at Charlotte too. It's at the Bank of America Stadium.
Bank of America Stadium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
cheap tickets, real cheap,
very cheap. I might have to try to go to that one sometime. Can't that weekend, but yeah, NC State led by Grayson McCall. He should be very good. The big thing here that this kid was very big at UConn. Justin Joly, Tennessee, tried getting this kid to come for the tight end, but he ended up going to NC State. The offense should be very, very good. I don't know about their defense. That's the only question mark I have. But I look for NC State to go probably 9-3. Honestly, they have a very good team, and they are ranked top 25. They're ranked 24th coming in this year.
While we're on it, you got another North Carolina school, Wake Forest. Wake's super young. They do have some good quarterback depth. They got 2 seniors, so that's going to be a quarterback battle. Could be a 2-quarterback system between Hank Bochemeyer and Michael Kern. I like Michael Kern a little bit better. He's a little bit more mobile quarterback, so I kind of lean toward that way. But the team is full of experience, and they could very well be a spoiler team too. They're nobody's going to look at Wake Forest, but this is looking like that Wake Forest team from like 4 years ago when they had guy went to Notre Dame, looked like Jesus.
Oh, yeah. What was his name? Gosh, man, I'm seeing the faces tonight.
Yeah, but they could very well run the table here and upset some schools, and they could be in the ACC title game. I could very well see that. I mean, I think they're worth putting $5, $10 on to say they win the ACC. Duke.
It was before Riley Leonard, wasn't it?
That's at Duke. Riley Leonard was at Duke.
Sam Hartman, yeah.
I mean, I'm impressed with what Wake's got. This could be a big year for them down there at BB&T Bank Stadium. That'll be interesting to see. I've always kind of wanted to go down there and watch a game. I don't know why, but I have. Virginia's going to be the bottom seller team this year in the ACC. I hate to say that, but they've just got too many issues, too many holes, a lot of young players. But, fun fact, they did rank 15th in the NIL. They're just ahead of Tennessee as far as NIL money. I think it was $536 million they spent. Tennessee spent $520 million. So that's pretty interesting to think that Virginia is going to be that bad, but they spent that much money. While we're still talking about North Carolina, Duke, no Riley Leonard, but I ain't really worried about that. I think Malik Murphy comes in and absolutely tears it up, but they lost so much on the defensive side of the ball. That's going to be a huge problem for Duke this year. Murphy, I think, will be a stellar quarterback for them. I think he'll look really good, keep them in a bunch of ball games. I'm not sure the defense will do much for them. While we were talking too, we had some new schools come in here. This has became, like you said, I think the other day, the coastal the coast to coast division.
Coast to coast.
You got SMU, Stanford, and Cal joining the ACC. Do you think any of those teams make a run at the ACC?
Not this year.
The only one I could see possibly doing it would be Cal. They're loaded with a lot of experience. Their linebacker core is probably the best linebacking core in the ACC going into this year. And probably at the end of the day, everybody's going to think Stanford, but I think people's going to be looking at Cal as the best add to the ACC. I think it's going to be huge for them. I still think that Cal's looking at about 6 or 7 wins, but I think they could really shake some things up, especially when, Clemson goes to, or Virginia Tech. I know the Virginia Tech goes to Stanford this year, but I think when some of those East Coast schools have to go out west and play, I think that could be some jet lag. I mean, Florida State was using that as an excuse that
New
Ireland.
Stadium, new environment.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. As far as the rest of the ACC, another team, before we hit the big hitters here, Syracuse, they could be a sleeper team. They hired Georgia's DB coach, and he took a lot of our secondary
Also
and
got
some of our
McCord.
Recruits. Yep, they got Kyle McCord at quarterback. If people don't know who that was a quarterback at Ohio State last year. Yeah, a lot of people didn't talk about him, but he did play. He was pretty efficient.
He's pretty good.
He just didn't fit the Ryan Day offense. He wasn't as explosive, I think, as Ryan Day was wanting. But Kyle McCord, he took care of the football. So that'll be interesting to see Syracuse. It's always tough to play up there in their dome. So that'll be interesting. I think Syracuse is about 2 or 3 years away though from being competitive again. I'm not really too much worried about SMU this year either. Louisville, last year they shocked the world in what they did, and I think they kind of fall into footsteps for that again this year. Not so much shock the world as I think people are looking out and seeing what they could do. Louisville,
I think Louisville's like 5th in odds in the ACC to win the ACC.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean they did bring in Texas Tech transfer Tyler Show. So he was a
going to show you.
Yeah, he was a former 5-star. I mean, he was pretty good at Texas Tech. That was a huge hit for them when he left. So that's interesting to see. I think it's all going to be on can Louisville play 4 quarters of football and can their defense play? Because that was what kind of got them last year when they struggled, was the defense. Outside of Louisville, Boston College, they hired Bill O'Brien as their head coach. Took him straight out of Ohio State. Bill O'Brien is a mastermind in offense. It's going to be really interesting to see what they can do. The junior quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, as long as he don't throw too many picks, I think they're going to be pretty good. He had 1,113 yards passing last year on 13 touchdowns. And he gave Florida State fits. He's very mobile. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Florida State plays Boston College, correct?
Yes, Florida State does play Boston College this weekend, I think, or Monday. Labor Day. The big thing with Boston College, they just got to find a pass rush defense. I think they could be anywhere from a low 6 wins to possibly 8 wins. I mean, Boston College just has that potential. But I know everybody here is listening, and we're talking about the ACC. A lot of our listeners are waiting. Why are we not mentioning them? What are we not saying? Brian Long, buddy, we're here. Here we go. We got you. Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. That's
all I hear at the
gym.
Are they the class of the ACC?
Not this year. Hate to let them down fast like that, but not this year. Well, I'm
interested to hear why.
Virginia Tech's kind of like Tennessee fans this year. It's the first season they've really looked forward to in a while. Drones has proven himself. He's kind of a black horse for the Heisman.
It's one of the most hype they've had since 2012 when Logan Thomas was quarterback.
Sure, I'd agree with that. I like that take. They do
2011.
2011. Okay. 20th ranked defense last year. Returns pretty much. I mean, Tech's known for their defense. Definitely going to have that defense back. Drones, again, top 2 running backs. You have Tootin. He's going to be tearing it up this year.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good schedule, pretty favorable schedule for Tech. They do have the first road game against Vandy, so we'll see what they got Saturday. I'm definitely going to watch that game. They have improved since the past 2 seasons. I'll give them that. This will be an uplifting year. But just pump the brakes on winning the ACC. Was it second year, Coach? Now?
Third year.
Going into third year. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, pump the brakes. I don't think we're there just yet. I'm going to give them probably a 9 win top. And that would be incredible. 9-3. I mean, that'd be pretty daggone solid. I haven't fully they play Clemson this year.
Yep.
So that one's definitely circled. I'm going to try to get to that game. So yeah, 9-3, 7-5 bottom.
I'm going to rebuke all that. I think Virginia Tech is probably one of the top 5 teams in the entire country going into this year. I think Drones is a dark horse Heisman. They're returning the entire receiving core. They're returning 94% of all their production from last year. They're returning their running backs. Their defense is much improved. Lane Stadium is tough, and I'm going to be honest with you. If Virginia Tech makes the playoff, if that does happen, I think their potential is to be a top 5 team in the country. I think potentially they could be a top 5. I'm not going to say they are. I think the potential's there.
Sure.
So let me get that clarified there. But I don't want to go to Lane Stadium, even as a Georgia fan, in January and play in Blacksburg, a night game in Blacksburg in January for a playoff
Absolutely
game.
not.
So if they can do it, I think they can. They return more than any team in the country on both sides of the football, production-wise.
What's your projection?
I look at them as far
as I think they're definitely going to finish top 25.
I think as far as their schedule goes, if they lose a game, it'll be to North Carolina because they got Clemson at home.
Yeah, Clemson's at home.
Um,
North Carolina usually does give Tech fits.
And they do. And Mac Brown, I mean, depending on what North Carolina does, I mean, Tech could run the table and go 12-0 this year. It's there.
Read off that schedule real quick since you're looking at it.
I wasn't looking
at it. I thought you was looking at it.
I was just thinking, but I can real fast.
Yeah, pull it up real quick. I know we got to get it moving, but I'm just curious.
I mean,
we do have a lot of listeners that are Tech fans, so.
12-0 is a real possibility. I mean, it's crazy to sit here and think, but I mean, if you really just sit here and think about what the talent they got in their schedule, then you open up against Vandy.
Yeah, but is this the same Tech team that lost to William and Mary, or
it's a different mindset.
I hope so. I like when Tech's good. It's fun.
I think their head coach has brought in a new mindset. I mean, he reminds me not so much as being verbal as Kirby Smart, but as far as his mentality and discipline that he lays on the team. It's a team sport, and he is like Kirby. I don't care if you're a superstar at catching a football or throwing it. If you can't be excellent at the simple things, you're not successful. But it's all about their schedule. They open with Vandy, then they play Marshall at home. They go to ODU. That could be a trap game. Rutgers at home. They go to Miami on September 27th.
Ooh, that'd be tough.
Miami likes to kneel the football for stupid reasons.
But it's at Miami. So
it's at Miami. That's a 7:30 kick on September 27th. They go to Stanford. That's not been determined what time yet. That's on October 5th. Boston College at home. Georgia Tech at home.
That could be tough.
Sleeper team. Georgia Tech plays them tough. They go to Syracuse, and then they follow. And that Syracuse game could be interesting, too, because it's in between the Georgia Tech and the Clemson game. And then they go to Duke, and then they finish against Virginia, as always. I mean, so they don't even have North Carolina.
I'm still leaning 9-3. And that's solid.
I don't see them losing to Rutgers, ODU, Marshall, or Vandy. Miami's a possibility. Stanford, I mean, that's the first time they're going out west. That could be interesting. I mean, Stanford don't got much, but they do have a pretty solid defense, so that'll be interesting to see Stanford trying to make a statement for themselves. The Boston College game, if that was at Boston College, I'd more label that a 50-50 game, but I think Tech can get them there.
Tech's probably favored in most of those games.
Yeah, I would say they are.
Probably 80% of those games at least.
Georgia Tech will be interesting. The Clemson game, that's going to be probably a game of the year. I could possibly, depends on Clemson and Dabo.
Yeah.
Duke game. Not really worried about that in the Virginia game. I mean, at worst, 10-2, best case scenario, 12-0.
I like it.
Yeah. But while we talked about it, I mean, you're talking about that game. We'll talk about the old Tiger Paw in the South. Clemson.
Yeah.
Dabo, I got him in the hot seat. Just go ahead and throw that out there.
I mean, very well could. If he don't produce numbers like he did in 2015, 2016, right through there. Yeah, I'd agree with that. That fan base is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
At best, I think they go 11-1. I think they're definitely going to have a one loss. Bottom of the barrel here, 9-3 probably for them. They do have a pretty favorable schedule. That Tech game on the road, I think that's going to be a loss. I do think Tech can pull that one out.
Georgia loss.
Yeah, Georgia's a loss. Should very well be. Yeah, give me another one there. They should play like Florida. They should play Florida State, shouldn't they?
They only play them every year, I think.
Yeah. North Carolina.
They got App State, NC State.
NC State could be a loss.
They got Stanford at home, Florida State away, Louisville at home, Virginia Tech away, Pittsburgh away, and then they finish with South Carolina.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, that's a tough schedule. I'm going to retract my statement there. 9-3. I'm leaning more towards 8-4.
Yep, I'm saying 8-4 and bottom 6 and 6.
I didn't realize this. Dabo enters his 17th season at Clemson already. Time flies.
Yeah, 17th season, and I mean the big thing there is going to be Cade Klubnik.
Yeah.
Can he finally turn around and be the superstar that they thought he was going to be? I mean, they shipped out all kinds of quarterbacks just to give him playing time, so it's going to be interesting to see there. As far as a person, I have never met him personally. I kind of like Dabo. He's very old school. He's like Nick Saban. But I think I put him in a hot seat going into the year, and I think if Clemson falters and they don't finish, like you're saying, if they don't finish, I don't think if Clemson finishes worse than 10-2, I think they talk about firing Dabo, and if it's worse than 9-3, he's out at the end of the year.
You got to look at that schedule. That's a pretty tough schedule.
He's in his 17th season though, and they've been leading the ACC in recruiting the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, and they struggled. I mean, last year was horrendous. So it'll be interesting there. Miami though, let's talk about them. Is Miami back, or is this just another? Oh, let's hype up Miami because everybody wants Miami to be good, but they've not really been good at all since 2003.
Can't tell just yet. I mean, they do have a big game, coming right off the bat with Florida. So we'll see there. Again, Florida should be down a little bit this year, depending on quarterback play. We just mentioned that a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see early what Miami has. You put something here very important: 110-win season in 20 years in the ACC. Prior to that, 14 times in 21 years, they won 10 games.
Yeah.
So definitely coming to ACC has hurt them. Can Cam Ward be the savior? That's the question mark.
He was a stud at Washington State.
He was. I do think Miami will be better this year than last year. Just don't kneel the freaking football. Tyler Barron coming from Tennessee is huge. That guy's a stud. I think he will make a difference in that conference. You got to cut down on turnovers. This right here, a good stat here: 0-20 since 2017 when they make 3 or more turnovers. Got to cut out the turnovers. I do like Miami in the ACC. They are, kind of my top 3, top 4 teams this year. So I do like Miami. I'm projecting very well. It could be a 10-win season for them.
College football's better when Miami's good. I mean,
yeah,
plain and simple. I vaguely remember the great years when they had Jeremy Shockey and Willis McGahee and Ed Reed and all them down there. Like, I vaguely remember that, but I mean, I would like to see Miami get back there, especially for that rivalry between Tech. If both those teams are good, that just makes college football better.
I think they will be. I think that'll be a great game this year.
Just adds another layer to college football and how great it is as a whole. I think Miami is definitely a potential 10-win team, but as just history, I love history, and I just don't see them getting 10 wins this year. I think 9-3 is at best, and I think 8-4 is the worst. So
I like it.
We'll see. But other than that, is there another team in the ACC you think can compete, or are you ready to tell me who's going to be the ACC championship game?
I'm going through here. Nah, I can tell you who I'm still leaning towards probably.
Okay.
And probably
who's in the ACC title?
I think it's going to be NC State.
NC State going to win it? Who you got playing?
I'll probably have them playing. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, that would be – Georgia Tech could be that. I mean, that's just another –
No one listening is going to agree with me on that, but we'll see.
That's another Kirby Smart coach coming out of the Kirby Smart tree. He's turning into Nick Saban. So, I mean – Georgia Tech's it's our bitter rival from Atlanta. So, I mean, I don't want to see them be too successful, but I like to see them be pretty decent. So when we play them at the end of the year, people can't say we got a cupcake to finish the year. So I like that. I like that take a lot. But again, I'm going with Virginia Tech as representing the ACC and the ACC title game, and I got them playing Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, nice. I like
I'm high on Wake. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Wake.
They are.
I think North Carolina's a possibility either way there. But Tech's your ACC champion this year. I think this is a huge year for Blacksburg. I think they can feel pretty confident about it going into this year. Take it game by game, but enjoy it and burn Blacksburg down when they make the playoff this year, because
I like it.
Like, as quickly as you can get high, the bottom can fall right out of it.
I'm excited. I'm excited for ACC play.
ACC is going to be fun this year. It's going to be a really fun conference to watch. And the cool thing about the ACC is they're playing games on Monday nights this year, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
A lot of football pretty much every day.
Yeah, a lot of ACC football this year. This is probably the second best conference of college football we're going to talk about here. And a lot of people,
right now, yes.
A lot of people could argue they might be the best conference of college football because, I mean, the Big Ten is loaded, and you got Ohio State sitting at number 2. You got Michigan sitting at number 9. You got Penn State at 8, USC at 23, Oregon at 3. Who else do they have? It's ranked. They got Iowa at 25, but their bottom is pretty trash as far as Maryland, Purdue, Indiana, Illinois, Northwestern, and Minnesota. Minnesota hasn't had – they've had 2 10-win seasons in 118 years. So outside of that, their bottom is pretty bad, but – I want to talk about Ohio State. They spent $20 million in NIL to bring players in. Caleb Downs, they took him straight out of Alabama. He was coming to Georgia. He said, nope, I'm getting a ton of money. I'm going to Ohio State. They added a quarterback that if people would listen to us last year, you were pretty high on, and that's Will Howard out of Kansas State.
I like Will Howard.
I think that's a difference maker for them. They added Quinshon Junkins to go with Henderson at running back. I mean, that's just either one of those
Team's
running backs.
Team's going to be unreal, man.
Yeah. I mean, offensively, it's the best offense that Ryan Day's had. But on the flip side of that, I think this puts the most pressure on Ryan Day. They've yet to beat Michigan in like the last 2 years, 3 years. This offense is electric. I mean, on paper, there's probably not a better offense on paper going into this year than what Ohio State's got.
I'd agree with that.
But I do think Ryan Day could possibly be on the hot seat. And the big thing there is, can they beat Michigan?
They have to beat Michigan, plain and simple. If he wants to keep his job, they have to win that game.
Yeah. They
can lose Penn State and win Michigan. He still keeps his job.
Yeah, they got to.
He has to beat Michigan this year, or he's out. That's bottom line.
And we're mentioning them. I mean, that takes us right into it. Michigan. I think they're overrated at 9 based off what they lost in the draft. They lost over 20 players. What do you think about Michigan?
Michigan is overrated this year. I truly do think it's going to be a big change of atmosphere. I mean, it's still Michigan, still D1 football, so they'll still be good. Defense will be solid again, but they lost a lot of pieces. QB play is a big question mark this year. So we'll see. I do think 9's a little high this year coming in. I think it should be more towards like 19, 20. But I think they'll finish out the season top 25. I don't know necessarily if we'll see them in the top 12. A lot of question marks there. They do have a pretty tough schedule.
So got Texas coming there.
You got Texas. You got Ohio State. I think it's like Penn State. Yeah. Iowa maybe on that.
Yeah, they got Iowa. Yeah. I mean, got no J.J. McCarthy, and I hate
it's gonna be a tougher year this year for Michigan.
I know the Michigan fans absolutely just torched me personally last year.
Pretty bad, yeah.
They can bring it on again. I don't care.
2 kids in their parents' basement. Yeah.
Yep. We're still there.
We're still here, but guys.
No J.J. McCarthy, which I hate that what happened to him with the Vikings. It looked like he was going to do pretty decent there. No Jim Harbaugh. No Connor Stallions. I mean,
a lot of drama off field too. I mean, they're still pending a 2-year bowl ban. So
yeah. So that's going to be interesting. I think Michigan.
I think Ohio State gets Michigan this year.
I mean, be happy you're ranked 9th right now because I don't think you stay there very long. Penn State, I think this is the biggest year for them. I think could be the year James Franklin finally beats Ohio State. They definitely have the best environment in home environment in college football. That place it's absolutely electric. You've played there on NCAA. I hate playing there, and then watching the whiteout and just watching it on TV is awesome. Big thing is, can they avoid
going to the whiteout? I'm a little bit worried about how the scheduling is this year for that whiteout game. I think
it's all day games.
It's all day games, so they didn't get the night game. I think that does hurt them. But definitely for that game. So I just want to throw that point out there for any of you listeners. They did move to all day games for Penn State, so that definitely does hurt. Got a potential upset though this Saturday.
Week 1.
West Virginia. They go to West Virginia. That's the big key there. I'm personally picking West Virginia to win that game. I'll go ahead and say it. Yeah. I don't think Drew Allen is
Drew Allar. I wrote that.
Drew Allar. Drew Allar. He didn't impress me last year. He's got to step up this year. He's got to, if they want to beat Ohio State, if they want to make a presence in this division, he's got to step up.
I mean, I think he looked bad because of what we expected, because everybody was talking about J.J. McCarthy. Everybody was talking about Kyle McCord to Ohio State. But, I mean, if you look at the stats, he threw for 2,600 yards. He had 25 touchdowns. He only threw 2 picks last year. If he improves on those stats, that's a Heisman candidate. I mean, that's a Heisman candidate right there at Penn State. I think it's definitely an easy 10-win season for them, and there's a possibility they could run the table here at Penn State. If they can get through week 1, that game in West Virginia is unreal. They've canceled all classes, and all area schools have been canceled on Friday.
I'd love to get that game. That'd be fun.
Pat McAfee's going to be there. I mean, it's going to be absolutely electric there in Morgantown. It's going to be an environment. So, yeah, if they get by that game, that's key for them. But, I mean, if they lose that game, that's not you got to look at the big picture, and that's the Big Ten. And I think Ohio State's the only competition for them in the Big Ten this year. But they welcome Oregon.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning. And, I mean, Oregon is an absolute just juggernaut.
Powerhouse.
I mean, every player on that team got $1 million NIL deal with Nike. And
they're just shy of $1 billion, right, on their NIL deals?
Yeah.
973 or something.
$956 million on NIL deals. And you get a lifetime deal with Nike. So anytime you need Nike stuff, if you're a recruit there, you get Nike stuff. So I mean, that's
Gosh.
incredible. But the big thing there is a lot of people. I'm kind of on the fence with this quote, but I mean, you see it. There's a lot of people say Dylan Gabriel
Hmm.
is possibly top or best quarterback in college football because of the dual threat ability. And now that he's in that Dan Lanning offense with Dan Lanning motivating him, they're saying he'd be better than Bo Nix was in that offense, and that would be just incredible
Wow.
with what Bo Nix did. Dan Lanning, another Kirby Smart coach here we're talking about, coming down the Kirby Smart tree, bringing that mentality to Oregon. They're coming in this season ranked third, and they Big Ten Media Day, they inflated a huge duck and put it in the Ohio River there in Indianapolis. So anytime everybody had to drive to Indy for Media Day, all they seen was the Oregon Ducks. So they're coming into the Big Ten and like, we don't care that it's Ohio State, Michigan. We're coming in and take it over. So it's going to be interesting to see what Oregon does. They're going to be electric. Love their uniforms. USC, Lincoln Riley, no Caleb Williams. I didn't realize that their offense was as good as it was last year. They ranked 10th in total yards and third in scoring, but they had absolutely no defense. They were toasted and roasted on defense. They were ranked in the bottom 100 in defense last year. So that's going to be big. That LSU game to start the year off for USC is going to be a telltale sign. Can they win that game and carry that momentum into the Big Ten? Possibly. It's a neutral site game in Las Vegas, so that'll be interesting. And they got a new quarterback in Miller Moss. He's been a backup to Caleb Williams. He's been there 4 years. It's his time to shine. We'll see what happens. But I do think this Big Ten, I think it comes down to Penn State and Ohio State. But the team that I have as a sleeper is definitely Nebraska. I put it in here. The world is a better place when Nebraska football is good. They're kind of like Miami. If they're good, it makes football better. Dylan Raiola, I mean, I was hyped about him coming to Georgia. He would have been the highest recruit all time in the University of Georgia. Now he's the highest recruit all time in the University of Nebraska. He's starting as a freshman. His uncle is the offensive coordinator. His dad is in the Nebraska Hall of Fame. The kid's got tradition there. He's got Nebraska running through his veins, and this is just what Nebraska needs. And he's got the world on his shoulders and don't even realize it. Nebraska also, I didn't put this in there, but I think they've had 36 straight seasons of nothing but sellouts. And they've been absolutely terrible. They're the longest running home sellout streak in college football. 7 to 8 wins is definitely a possibility, but if they can upset USC or Ohio State, that would be absolutely huge, and they could win 10 games, and Nebraska would probably just blow up.
Yeah. I like
what are you thinking?
So is your two teams, are you saying Ohio State, Penn State?
Yeah, I'm going Ohio State, Penn State, Big Ten championship game, and give me Penn State. I think James Franklin does it. I think he beats him twice. He'd have to. He'd have to beat him twice.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely got Ohio State in winning it all. I think that offense is just too much. But I do like Oregon. I like Oregon a lot. I'm surprised you didn't mention Oregon, honestly.
I like Oregon. I love Dan Lanning, but
I think it's Ohio State, Oregon.
I can see that. I mean, who's the better O?
Yeah, that's a big question mark.
Yeah.
Both those teams, man. Those offensives.
One more thing though, before we do leave, I want to kind of mention Iowa. They're ranked 25th. Their defense is going to be better this year than it was last year, if that's even
insane.
possible. And if they can get good quarterback play, they got a new offensive coordinator coming in, and Tim Lester. So that'll be interesting. I think it's definitely an easy 8 wins. If they could beat Ohio State, you never know, 9-10 wins. That'll be interesting out of Iowa. Wisconsin got Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, so that'll be interesting what they can do. But outside of that, it's definitely those teams we mentioned: Penn State, Ohio State, Nebraska. I think that's your top teams. Maybe I think throw Michigan in there. They got some good recruits, but I don't think it's their year. But yeah, I like the Oregon. I think it's a toss-up between Oregon and Ohio State. But I think, in my opinion, Penn State's my lock. But I think you could do a coin flip for Ohio State versus Oregon.
Yeah,
they play each other this year, so
that's a tough division, man.
But Big 12 added some new schools. They added both Arizona schools, Arizona State and Arizona. Got one of the all-time favorite quotes you probably ever made about one of the Arizona players. So I'll let you talk about Arizona here in just a second. I want to also say that Big 12 also brought back Colorado. Glad to see Colorado back in the Big 12 where they belong. They also brought in Utah. So that's going to be interesting to see. And Utah is bringing back Cam Rising. So what do you think about the Big 12? What's your take on the Big 12?
Big 12 looks good this year. Definitely more improved. You got Arizona State. Big team here, getting all the media hype always. Colorado. Prime time. It's kind of calmed down a little bit though around Colorado. The Buffs aren't getting as much media attention as they have been previously. I think that will spike up a little bit throughout the season. I do like Kansas this year. Oklahoma State is another team that'll keep your eye on. They are returning their running back Ollie Gordon. He should rush. I think predicting over 2,000 yards this year. He would have had it last year. Just missed it. So. Yeah, and another team we just mentioned a minute ago, West Virginia. That's a sleeper in that division. West Virginia looks really good. I think they got Garrett Green behind the helm. So
Country Road.
Yeah, I like West Virginia. Utah. It's a tough division, man. Gosh, top to bottom.
It is. It's very tough.
But if I had to pick a team that I do like, Arizona. You mentioned his name, Noah Fafita. Throwing fajitas. Yeah, I like Noah Fafita. He's excellent. Sizzling. But honestly, I'm gonna go off a limb here. I think Oklahoma State could win this.
Mike Gundy and the QR codes on the back of the helmet.
I really do. They got Ollie Gordon, Alan Bowman's back for his 7th year. Easily could be 10, 11 games winning season. I like them, and as a sleeper pick, I'll go with West Virginia. I like what I see there.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to lock in Arizona. I'm really big on that. I think they got the best wide receiver in the country, and Teutria McKellen. I think he's a top 5 pick next year in the NFL draft. Fajitas going to be throwing that to him all day long. He's going to be serving him up fajitas. It's going to be electric what Arizona's bringing to the table.
Yeah, they should be good.
I want to kind of touch base on Colorado. I don't want to talk too much about them because, the media blows them up a lot. But, Shanoir Sanders is, without a doubt, probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But the kid got hit over 100 times last year. They've got to protect him. But he was very efficient. I think he only threw 2 picks last year, threw for 3,600 yards, threw 32 touchdowns. Big thing, though, it came out of there. I thought this was really cool. Deion Sanders, he started the 529 accounts, and he put $2,121, which is $21.21, in each of those 8 accounts for the fathers. The 8 players on Colorado have kids to help them get started, and he hired them an accountant to help manage their money so they don't waste it and don't help take care of their family. So, a lot of people give Deion a hard time. I think he means well, and I think he uses the media to his power. But I think he is a good person, and I think he's a good place for these kids who kind of have some troubled background to go to. But Colorado, I also want to go ahead and say it. I don't see them winning more than 5 games this year. I think they get upset in week 1 to North Dakota State. But yeah, my favorite's Arizona in this. But I think the team is going to give them a run for the money. You can coin flip it here. God, I don't know, man. Big 12 is good because Kansas State's got they brought in Dylan Edwards. They've got a stellar quarterback in Avery Johnson. Did
he mention Kansas or Utah? Utah's tough, man.
Utah's got Cam Rising coming back for his 5th year. Last year he was beginning of the year he was a Heisman hopeful. Bringing him back. Oklahoma State, you got Ollie Gordon. Mike Gundy always puts a competitive team out there. I don't know. Man, you know what? Give me Kansas State to win the Big 12, to put their foot down, because now they don't have Texas. Texas and Oklahoma are not there. That was their crutch. They couldn't get by those 2 schools. They've got Avery Johnson at quarterback. He's probably a top 2, top 3 dual-threat quarterback in the country. Give me them 11 to 12 wins, Kansas State this year, and I think they win the Big 12.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Going off the limb here, some random teams.
Yeah, this is the random part of the thing. We've got the independents, which
we'll run through these real quick.
These are your G5 at-large schools. So these are the teams that we kind of think that could make the playoff as an at-large school.
So, number 7.
Notre Dame.
Pick a freaking division, I swear. It kills me.
That's the only reason Leonard, we love Riley Leonard. He stays healthy. Riley. That's huge for Notre Dame. Outside of that, I'm not impressed with Notre Dame. I think they're more overrated than Michigan. But they could possibly go 9-3 and where they're in the independent. If they're 9-3 and the polls put them higher and they're the biggest at-large school, they make it over possibly these other schools. But I'm not a big fan of Notre Dame, so we'll see what happens with them. But I think they're a possibility. There's a lot of talent there, but Notre Dame struggles to put it out there on the field. Team I know you're high on, Liberty.
Yeah, I like Liberty. Caden Saltier is a stud. Quentin Cooley is probably one of the top 3 backs in the country. He had 1,401 rushing yards last year.
I would have just stopped at 1,400. I would have ran that extra one.
You got to have that 1 yard. I think this team could go 12-0.
They could. Very well could. I mean, it's there. Caden Saltier is a stud. They got a good receiving core, great coaching staff. They're ranked 48th in the country coming in, so that's going to be interesting.
Wake up, Hess.
I'm up, buddy. I'm here. Don't you worry. It's early morning.
Early morning for you.
Early morning. But another team on here, we got Fresno State. I know they're a 32.5-point underdog to Michigan week 1, but don't sleep on them. I think the last 32.5-point underdog to go to Michigan was App State, and we all know what happened there. Yep. So they're bringing back a lot of offense. Fresno State is. They were 9-4 last year.
They were good. They were tough. I think that they were ranked top 25 at one time. They
were in the top 25 for a while. They lost 2 games at the end of the season because of injuries. But they're bringing back 80. They're the second behind Virginia Tech as far as bringing back production on the offensive side of the ball. So it's going to be interesting. Boise State. They have a 10.6% chance of making the playoff this year. They do play Oregon. They play Oregon State.
I like when Boise's good.
And they play Washington State this year. And Ashton Gentry is rated the number 1 running back in the country and the consensus number 1 running back going to the NFL draft next year. So everything's going to be on his shoulders. The big thing for Boise State is they've got to find a defense. They didn't have one last year. They got to have one this year if they want to compete. Appy State, it's another one. They play Clemson, and they also play Liberty this year. So that could be a huge game. Both those teams undefeated going into that one. That could be huge for playoff implications. They had the number 1 offense in the Sun Belt last year. I think they finished number 7 or number 6 in the entire NCAA last year. Quarterback Joey Aguilar is the key. He threw for 3,700 yards last year and returns all but 1 wide receiver from last year. Appy State, again, they got to find defense. I mean, that seems to be the key with these smaller schools. I'll let you talk about JMU. We were big on them. You think JMU can repeat what they did last year?
I don't know necessarily if they can repeat what they did last year. I do think this team will still be sound. I just don't think it'll be the same JMU team overall. Last year, I think, was a
determination year. Prove a point.
Kind of like a highlight reel. It's kind of like, just one of those random seasons that pop off. I do think the Sun Belt's a little bit tougher this year. I do think App State's more improved. So I do not see JMU being the same team as last year. Now, granted, I don't see them being the bottom of the barrel either. I do think they have 1 or 2 more losses than we saw last year.
What about Bob Chesney coming in as head coach? New head coach. No relation to Kenny Chesney.
I think that's fine. That's big, big for them. It's big shoes to fill for sure. As you're coming in as a new head coach after just the stellar season they just had. So, just throwing that into the equation on top of, losing players from last year. I think that's why I have them just a little bit down this year. But I wouldn't rule JMU out for the future. It's just, starting with a new coach. It's going to take time.
And this is the team that everybody's been talking about, Memphis.
Yeah.
They're ranked 43rd. They got Seth Hagen. He's a top-level quarterback. They actually got him ranked as like the 4th best quarterback going into the draft next year. And this is by far the best G5 school this season, with the defense and offense both ranked in the top 40 coming into this year. And their chance to make the playoffs is 11.2. So Memphis football, I think they go to Ole Miss this year. They got a game against Florida State coming up. I think that's week 3. So they got some big games this year, and they can make some noise. Well, buddy, we've talked about every conference, every school. I got a little clip of what the playoff bracket looks like here. Can you want to give me your 12 schools you think will make the inaugural college football playoff?
Sure. I'll go 1 through 12 right here for you.
All right.
Number 1 is this Castle's Picks, Georgia.
Okay.
Number 2, Ohio State. I'm going to throw you a loophole here. I know I didn't mention them earlier. Number 3, Clemson.
Ooh.
Didn't mention them earlier. Number 4, Utah. Number 5, Texas. 6, Oregon.
All right, hold up. You got Utah at 4, which means they win the Big 12.
Sure. They
very well said can. Oklahoma State wins the Big 12.
I did.
If Oklahoma State wins the Big 12, they're sitting at 4. No matter what their ranking is.
Nobody said I can't throw in 12 random teams here.
Okay.
I'm just telling you what's probably going to happen.
This is your 12 teams, not your 12 rankings.
This is 12 teams.
Okay, gotcha.
This is probably what's going to happen. But I hope what I predicted earlier in the segment happens. Okay?
Gotcha.
So, Utah, Texas, Oregon, Alabama, Ole Miss, Penn State, as bad as I hate to say it, and bad as I hate to say this one too, 10 Notre Dame, Yep. 11, Tennessee. 12, Liberty.
12.
So there's a couple I've kept there, but
Yeah.
I definitely switched them up to what's more realistic.
Yeah.
Although I'm kind of not leaning high on Clemson now, since you told me their schedule.
Yeah.
So I'd almost want to change that one.
Well, you have the opportunity.
I do have the opportunity, don't I?
You do.
Yeah, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change the ACC.
You change the ACC.
I'm going to.
You do that.
You know what? I'm going NC State.
Ooh.
Go more random here. I say NC State makes it in.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
All right, just switched it on my notes, man. Yeah, this is what I'm leaning probably more towards what could happen. Obviously, I put Tennessee in there. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful as a Tennessee fan. I want them in the top 12. There's good possibility they could make it. But yeah, I wanted to switch it up. You know, Utah and Oklahoma State was kind of a toss up between me, but I went with Utah because I do think Cam Rising's going to be a stud. I did put Penn State in there. I do think they could have a great season. As bad as I hate to put Notre Dame in there, they should make top 12. Yeah, I guess the only change I made was Clemson. I took them out, put NC State in, so switched it up.
Well, this is no particular order.
Okay.
But I'm going to have Oregon, Penn State, Wake Forest,
Ooh.
Texas, Arizona, Memphis, Ohio State, Alabama, Crimson Tide, Virginia Tech, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee.
I like it. I like these picks.
I think the ACC tries to make a statement this year because everybody gave us
ACC.
time last
Honestly,
year.
I'm gonna chime in there. ACC's been the toughest one for me to try to pick.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
And I mean, this 12-team playoff, like, it's really going to be interesting to see what they're a Power 5 conference. How do you legitimize let's say a 10-2 Wake Forest NC State team versus a 10-2 Big 12 school or a 10-2 SEC school? Like, I mean,
yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I like how neither one of us say Florida State there. I like how neither one of us say Michigan. I'm not high on the Notre Dame thing you got there, but is what it is.
Is what it is, man. I didn't want to put it, but I do think they probably will make it in.
I don't like the Liberty pick, or not the Liberty pick, the no Arizona pick. I do like seeing Liberty there. I think I think it could be a coin flip between them and Memphis, depending on what happens. But yeah, that's what we think, guys. This 12-team playoff is going to be interesting. We're going to keep that and see how close we get, or probably in our case, how wrong we are. So it'll be interesting to see. But before we do end this episode, guys, this is where we get back to our traditional what we're going to be doing on these Thursdays for you guys on Thursday morning. Got some big games coming up Thursday night. Tonight we got 2 games that we're really keeping an eye on, and we've already mentioned one of them. That's Colorado versus North Dakota State. I've already said it. I think Colorado gets upset in this game. I think North Dakota State comes in and absolutely lays a whooping on them. Take them out to the woodshed. So if you need some money there, I think Colorado's a 9.5-point favorite. Forget that. North Dakota State wins big in this game.
I disagree. I think Shedeur Sanders shows out. You got Hunter back as well. I like Colorado in this one.
Yeah. Another game that was not on Thursday. The next big game it's probably going to watch is other than the Cold Bowl. You go watch the Cold Bowl over in Honecker. If you don't want to watch this, go watch Cold Bowl. Friday night, though. The only reason we talked about this one is because Malik Murphy transferring to Duke. It's going to be interesting to see him. He was a stud quarterback. I liked him at Texas. He's never really got his fair shot there due to the quarterback situation. They play Elon. Malik Murphy's debut is the reason why. This game is going to be between Duke's D-line and Elon's O-line. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Duke lost three-time defensive captain Dwayne Carter at the NFL draft. He got drafted by the Bills. So Duke lost a lot. They lost the head coach. But I think Malik Murphy, I think it'll be fun to watch him. He'll look good in that blue. I think Duke fans have a lot to be happy about with him. It's just that defense is going to be questioned. But Saturday, you got some big games to watch. What are you thinking here? First game, you got Clemson versus Georgia. Georgia, 13.5-point favorite.
12 p.m. ABC.
Yep.
Yeah,
You don't have to pick it. You don't have to pick it
okay. Well,
because
everybody knows I'm going to pick anyway. Right
you don't
there,
want to
so.
pick these though because these are in our college pick'em.
Oh yeah, I don't want to give
Yeah,
hints.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what
You
if?
don't want
But
to.
I can throw a
Yeah, you throw a not so fast out there.
yeah. I mean, it make you think
Yeah,
different. 13.5 point favorite. I do like that. I would take that bet. I think it'll be 21 plus. Honestly,
yeah. I like that. I agree with you kind of on that one as well. I'm not big high on Clemson this year. This is a game I've got labeled as upset alert ever since I
big
seen it
time.
on the schedule. Penn State, even though I'm really high on Penn State, I don't need that to be taken away here. I am incredibly high on Penn State, but I just think if this was a night game, I would almost lock it in that West Virginia wins this game. The fact that it's a 12 o'clock game gives Penn State a little bit of a chance in
That
this
place
one.
gonna be rocking though, man.
It's going to be unreal. Country Road is going to be sung a lot. Couches are going to be burning. Morgantown's going to be just a disaster as far as just driving through it. But yeah, that game is at 12 o'clock, noon kickoff. So figure out what you're going to watch. You're going to watch Georgia Clemson or you're going to watch the upset in Morgantown. That game is on Fox. Another big game at 12 o'clock kick on ESPN. It's a big game for this area and the people that listen to us. So Virginia Tech versus Vandy. Another team I'm high on with Virginia Tech. And I think Vandy comes out, and I think Vandy gives them a little bit of a game for a little bit. So we'll see there. Tech's a 13-point favorite in that one.
I like that.
Big game here for you guys. 12:45 SEC Network. Nico's, I would
Debut?
consider this his debut.
Truly, yeah. His season debut rather.
Yeah. This is his, this is his team. This is his debut with this team.
I just want to know something here for Tennessee fans. Listen, I mean, Chattanooga's no slouch.
Ranked 8th.
They're ranked 8th in their division.
Division 1 AA.
Yeah, so, come in here, play lights out, play good football, play sound football, no penalties, no turnovers. Just put together a game, top to bottom, 4 quarters. Get in there, win your game, get out.
You don't want to be that team that paid a team $30 million to come play you, and then
Georgia State.
Then they beat you. I did see a video of Chattanooga players. They said they're super excited to play in Neyland.
They don't want to hear Rocky Top. Yeah,
they don't want to hear Rocky Top. But I think it'll be interesting. I think that game could possibly be close in the first quarter. I think you're going to be texting me pretty pissed off. I think you're going to go through one of them spats where you're like, about it. But I think everything settles out, and I think Tennessee pulls away in the next 3 quarters. But I think that first quarter might be a little like, oh, what is happening? But
I hope
Tennessee,
not. I don't want to start. I don't want to start nervous. Not this year.
Another big game. We talked about it. Miami opens up at Florida in the Swamp. Miami's a 2.5-point favorite. This game kicks off at 3:30 on ABC. Don't forget, guys, the SEC is no longer on CBS. That is all Big Ten Network. ESPN ABC has taken over the SEC as a whole. So all the SEC games will be on those channels now. Big game for both schools. I think it's bigger for Miami than it is Florida because I think we all kind of figure out where Florida is. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this game's going to be close. Miami and Florida, 2.5-point spread.
Mm-hmm.
I very well think it will come down to that. I think it'll be like a 3-point game.
Yeah. All right. I like that. I like you there with that. I think it is definitely a close game, but we'll see what happens there. Big game here just because we are going to be covering this school a little bit here and there and possibly going to a game. ETSU is at Appy State. Appy is a 32.5-point favorite.
God.
ETSU did lose a lot last year. This game, if you're wanting to watch it, is at 3:30 on ESPN Plus, or if you have Hulu, it's on Hulu as well, so you can watch it there through the ESPN Plus on the sports part of that. ETSU, they got Chris Hope, DB. Dude's a stud. He's an All-American. I think he's going to tear it up this year, possibly a draft prospect for ETSU. Appy State's going to be solid, but hey, I'm hoping ETSU gives them a run for their money and maybe pulls an upset down there. Shows Appy State what it's like to be upset at home. And last but not least, on Saturday on the big games, Week 1 kickoff here as far as Saturday games go. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. This is where College Game Day's at. A&M is ranked 20th. Notre Dame is ranked 7th. A&M is a 3-point favorite. This game kicks off at 3:30 on ABC. What do you think about this game?
Notre Dame, 3-point favorite. I mean, Texas A&M's definitely going to still
favorite.
Yeah, A&M's still going to be tough. Notre Dame's going to be tough.
Kyle Field.
I like Texas A&M in this.
Texas A&M. Oh, give me the pick. I like it.
Home field advantage, yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. And the last but not least, a big game on Sunday night, USC versus LSU. LSU is a 4.5-point favorite. This game is played in Las Vegas. Lincoln
USC
Riley versus Brian
LSU,
Kelly.
4.5 favorite.
Be interesting.
I'm not gonna say I'm gonna pick on that one, but I do like that spread. That's a tough spread.
Yeah,
Actually, I'd go over on that. I think it's gonna be over 4.5.
I like it. I like it a lot. We'll see what happens. I'm excited, man. I'm excited about football. I'm excited about what's going to happen this year. I'm excited to see how close we get this 12-team playoff. I'm excited to see everything develop. What a great episode.
Yeah,
College football preview. We wanted to go in depth with it. We did very well with everything. Be sure, guys, if you listen this long, be sure you subscribe and like everything that we're on. Go on. It just takes 3 seconds, guys. Just feel it up. Find that subscribe button. Put your finger on it and just feel it. Rub it just a little bit and hit that thing for me. So hit that like, hit that follow. Do what you got to do. If you listen this long, that's all, you can do that for us. All right. But guys, we appreciate everything here. Big things are happening here. Here at Tyler's Talking Sports.
We got some good news today, but we can't say yet.
Yeah, we got some stuff happening. Incredible news happening. I'm excited. But yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Be our longest episode probably of the year until we do a live.
Yep.
Other than that, that's all I got, man. You got any ending notes you want to say to the people?
Enjoy some college football.
Yeah, enjoy it. Happy Thursday, guys. Y'all have a good one. Be safe this weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day. Don't drink and drive. Have a good one, guys.
Catch you Monday.